welcome then. Again to the Zoom room, daily occurrence almost. So let's jump into today's teaching. Got an email to look at with quote, and then lead us into our lesson for today. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, so let me know when you can see the screen. And once you can, if you can read that quote for us. Headline quote, please.
Yeah. How you love yourself is how you teach others to love you.
Yeah, interesting quote by an Indian poet, artist, and performer called Rupi Kaur, which really should state the obvious. That should be completely obvious. But in our upside down world, it's quite a profound truth. How you love yourself is how you teach others to love you. And so if you can't love yourself, how do you expect others to love you?
Mm.
If your own self-esteem is lacking, you don't love yourself, then generally that's reflected in your relationships, and other people don't treat you particularly with love because you don't feel love for yourself. So that obvious truth is often obscured in an upside down thought system, which the ego is, and so it needs to be deeply contemplated to become obvious. So just as a little exercise, do this now. Ask yourself the question. Take a nice deep breath in, close your eyes, and ask yourself the question, how do I truly love myself? As you breathe in, how do I truly love myself? And then just sit quietly in the stillness and wait for an answer. If you need to breathe, just deep, slow, rhythmical breaths, the breath watching we did yesterday. So you just observe the breath flowing into the nostrils and out of the nostrils. So it's a very subtle flow of air. Just breathing in and breathing out. And notice what comes to you. So when you're ready, just open your eyes. So yeah, anything arise for you? And have a little exercise.
Well, when I asked myself, how do I love myself? I said, doing this course.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good answer.
And you?
Yeah. Probably the same answer, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a student
Yes.
as well as a teacher. So
Yeah.
this is my spiritual practice. And by doing it, because I've scheduled it, it's part of my daily routine. It means I have to do it. It makes you do it. It's so easy if you don't. You go, oh well, I've got a whole lot of stuff to do. I'll do that, and then you don't do it. So, it's my own spiritual practice and reminder, kind of a daily reminder, like, okay, these are the principles. Whatever else you're doing, this is the most important, because this is the truth. Everything else is secondary to that. So in my other life, I've got other businesses and stuff's happening and on the level of form, but this anchors me into the truth and a constant reminder. Okay, the truth is true, and only the truth is true. Mm-hmm. And don't forget it through all of the the things, unfolding happenings of the world. Remain rooted in this deep truth, which allows you to operate in those environments, which are typically egoic, but not get caught up in it, not get too attached, not get upset. And that's a practice, isn't it? You've got to maintain your sense of who you really are. It's just a game. That's all it is. It's all a game. Business is a game like anything else in life. You're playing this game, and okay, sometimes the game seems to go well, sometimes the game seems not to, but don't judge it. It just is. It's happening, it's unfolding, you flow with it, and the outcome will be the outcome. You're doing what you need to do. Listen to guidance. The Holy Spirit does give you specific guidance as to what to do and what to focus on. But then it's a letting go attitude. Well, the outcome may or may not be. It may or may not happen. We don't know. So really, it's a process of learning to love yourself. That's what that's the curriculum. We're all learning to truly love ourselves, the capital self, and others, the same self of others. That's the whole curriculum. That's actually what we're here to learn. So whatever the game is you're playing on the level of form, business or family life, or there's many areas of life that we engage in. The lesson's ultimately the same. Know thyself. And did you get to a point after that where there were no thoughts or emotions?
Yeah. I mean, I sort of said,
just the stillness.
There was a stillness. I was thinking of, I feed myself. I thought, but that's just the physical body. And then that was it. Didn't really need to think of anything else. The Course was the main one that came to the forefront. And then quiet.
And then quietness. So in that quietness, in the stillness, there's the love that you see, actually, by giving yourself time to be still. You are loving yourself. So things like meditation, other spiritual practices that help you to find that stillness. It's an act of love, self-love, to give yourself that experience, to create the time in your day, for that to happen is how you love yourself. Which means every time you do it, it's not only a practice that's helping you to connect with Source. You are through that act, you're saying, yes, I value myself, I love myself enough to do this. And you'll notice people who have very low self-esteem won't do that for themselves. They won't give themselves those gifts because they don't feel like they're worthy. The extreme, Byron Katie, her self-esteem was so low that she couldn't even sleep on a bed. She was in a sort of rehab sort of center, where, yes, she had a room and a bed, but she couldn't bring herself to sleep on it because she thought she didn't deserve it. That's how low someone's self-esteem can go. So she slept on the floor next to the bed. Crazy, really. But she,
That's the ego.
that was the state of her
Ego.
mind. That's the ego. Like,
really, yeah.
When your mind is so twisted and distorted, that's the kind of distortions that start to happen.
Yeah.
And she didn't even feel like she was worthy of sleeping on a bed, on a mattress, a comfortable mattress with a pillow. It's like, no, I've got to sleep on this hard, cold floor. But she woke. She literally woke up that way. She woke up, and then this cockroach is crawling over her foot or something. And that experience, which probably wouldn't have happened if she'd been lying in her bed, because generally cockroaches don't make it into beds. Unusually they do sometimes, but there's this cockroach on the floor. And so because it's climbing over her, she has this profound experience. And she just looked at it and was like, actually, I'm one with the cockroach, even though, it's crawling on me. There was no judgment of it. No, oh my God, it's a cockroach, kill it or brush it off or whatever. Just took her into a state of pure witnessing. Or she could then extend to herself. And then she went to the mirror after this experience with the cockroach. And then she looked in the mirror of the bathroom and was like, who is this? Who is this person looking out? Who is this person looking at me? Who am I really? From that same state of awareness, that question that arose. And those questions then led to her development of the work, which has helped hundreds of thousands of people to do this kind of self-inquiry. All interesting. And these are the ways we learn to love ourselves. That's really all we had to do. How do I truly love my, I could translate that as my, and then split it into my and self, capital self. How do I truly love myself? Well, you honor yourself, capital self. And you honor yourself whenever you give that self time, whenever you do spiritual practices that are about honoring that self, then you're honoring. So your spiritual practice is like your prayer to God and your affirmation at the same time of your own self-worth. Just the fact that you're willing to do it and say, yes, I'll show up like you do every night. I'll show up because this is important. I'm loving myself. I'd rather do this than watch TV or do, any of the other activities one can busy oneself with. That is an act of self-love. And every time you do it, you're confirming in your mind, yes, I do love myself. I do value myself. So just the act of showing up and being present is already huge. You're because the most powerful form of affirmation is action. So when you act on it, you say, yes, I'm committed to this path, and every day I show up. That starts to create a momentum, and a shift and change starts happening when you do that consistently. In a way that doesn't happen, in my experience, when you don't do it consistently. I've seen, Sally was the example of that. She just showed up every day, 4 or 5 times a week for a year. For 2 to 3 hours a day. So she was putting in 10, 12, maybe 15 hours a week. And she got the benefits. That there was a transformation.
Did, yes. Yeah, no, she's a good.
Now she's on her own. She's doing her own thing.
Teaching. Maybe she's teaching now. Yeah.
Teaching. She doesn't need this, anymore, because she's now able to stay in that state.
She's blossomed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's what can happen for you if you keep practicing. I mean, everyone's got their own path, but there's no doubt that consistent, disciplined spiritual practice is hugely helpful. It really speeds up your way. And that's, to tap into our earlier conversation about the community. I want to create tools and resources for people to be able to do that, to enable them to really have a consistently disciplined spiritual practice using the tools we now have available, like phones and computers and information technology that works through that to enable this information and the audio visual stuff, the videos, the audio, the meditations, all to be shared. It's just a tap. It's a tap or a click, and it's like, there we go. It's opened up for you, and you can now listen, you can view it, you can listen, and it makes studying it in a multimedia kind of way very, very easy. That's the mission. So watch this space. All right, so that leads us into our lesson for today. So if you can read that, and then
God is my Father, and his Son loves him. Perfect love is my source, and its extension loves it.
Yeah. So any thoughts on the headline quote?
No,
the lesson.
We're just saying that we're equal to God. So if he loves us, then we should love him in all our sonship, our extension.
Well, yesterday's lesson was interesting, because yesterday's lesson was God loves me. It was very similar, but if we look at yesterday's, the one leads to the other. So perfect love is my source, and it loves its extension. God's perfect love is my source, and its extension loves it. It's just a turnaround. Saying that the source and the extension have this connection we call love. It means actually that we are one and the same awareness. When we say we love the source loves its extension, or the extension loves the source, really what it's pointing to is just the awareness that there's only one awareness, that the source and its extension are not separate, they are the same. And when we say the source loves its extension, it's so that we can go back to that awareness, that singular awareness of the Father and the Son, the source and extension, as one awareness in our awareness currently, presently. That's what the lesson is designed to take us into. Yeah, so just using language to point to this fundamental unity. Okay, so we, before we get to lesson, to read this, it's 5 short paragraphs. So
in the alternative?
Yeah, just in the alternative. There isn't much to translate.
Letting go is just the forgiveness, isn't it? So letting go recognizes what I thought my companions did to me has not occurred. Did we not do this yesterday?
Yes, but you're supposed to do it every day.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. So you want to be reading this every day, and then he's given us a short lesson. That's the.
Right.
That's what
Yes.
he's saying. So,
right. I didn't do that today, so it's a good reminder. It does not pardon sins and make them real. It perceives there was no sin, and in that perception, I have let go of all my sins. What is sin except a false idea about perfect love's extension? Letting go merely perceives its falsity and therefore lets it go. What is then free to take its place is now the pure formless awareness of perfect love of God.
The thoughts on that?
All about letting go. What we thought was not real.
It's one of the most profound statements, I think, in the whole course. Quoted it often, revisit it. This forgiveness or letting go, recognize what I thought my companions did to me has not occurred. It does not pardon sins and make them real, perceives there was no sin. And in that perception, I have let go of all my sins. Because what is sin except a false idea? By perfect love's extension. So by letting it go in this radical way, just go, no, there's no sin. It's never happened. Whatever I think was done to me never occurred. That's completely freeing and releasing. And there's no concept of sin remaining in your mind. If you can do that. So what is then free to take its place is now the will of God, translated the pure formless awareness of perfect love. So when you let go of this idea of sin, then what's left is just this pure formless awareness of perfect love, of God. So just stating the case again, very simple, very direct, very straightforward, let it go. Easier said than done, of course. Someone's apparently done something to you and you go, well, it's not occurred. But you see how that's a direct challenge to the ego. It's denying everything the ego believes in when you do that, which is why it's so powerful. The ego says, no, there's really a person there. You're a person. This has really happened to you by them. There's two individuals or multiple people, and they've really hurt you. And now there's real consequences. And when you say it has not occurred, all of that is undone. All of that is just like, you just prick the bubble and it's gone. Puff, pop, and it implodes. And that's why the ego is so attached to sin and guilt. It needs the sin to maintain its existence. This kind of radical forgiveness is not good for it at all. So if you experience resistance to the idea and to doing it, it's just the ego resisting it, saying, no. There is sin. Look, because the evidence is you can see it. Look, this person's done this or this, and you see it in the external world as the evidence of this false thought system. But remember that evidence is false. It's a setup designed to convince you that sin and guilt and fear and attack are real. That's what the world was designed for, to convince you that what is false is true. And that what is true is now gone, obliterated from your awareness and is nowhere. And all you have remaining is this false world you made up. Okay, happy to move to number 2.
Yeah, I'll just get the dog there. Right. An unforgiving thought is one which makes a judgment that I will not question, although it is not true. My mind is closed and will not be released. An unforgiving thought protects projection, tightening its bonds so that distortions are more veiled and more obscure, less easily accessible to doubt and further kept from reason. What can come between a fixed projection and the aim that I have chosen as its wanted goal?
Thoughts on that?
Well, it's just all about judging and unforgiving thoughts and what it does to the mind. The projection tightens its bonds. Sorry.
Projection. So important to realize that, as we project out from a false belief, we then perceive it accordingly from the same false belief. If we're in the ego, and these are the bonds, right? The bonds of our own miscreation, the beliefs that we hold dear, so that these distortions are more veiled and more obscure, less easily accessible to doubt, and further kept from reason. So then everything is distorted, but we can't see the distortion. I think distortion now is reality. And that's behind the whole illusion. It's a distorted reality. Projection perception is a distortion of the truth. And yet it's become so normal to us that we think that's reality. That this projection perception mechanism of the mind now becomes our new reality, which keeps us in bondage and away from pure formless awareness, in the bondage of the limited separate self, doomed to go through time and space, trying to find some meaning and purpose, and eventually we age, we suffer, and we die. He says, what can come between these fixed projections and the aim that I've chosen as its wanted goal? So if I choose the aim, which is that I want to be a separate self, I want sin and guilt to be real, I want fear and attack to be real, I want suffering to be real, ultimately I want death to be real, then this is what I'll get. This is why the world is the way it is. Because I've decided, and then I've fixed my mind on that goal, and I've fixed the projection of that belief system. I've gone, yes, the projection is fixed and real and cannot be changed. And so, the mind that is unenlightened thinks that the world is reality, and that it's fixed and it cannot be undone. That's an illusion, which he's telling us. We need to move, beyond the desire for the illusion, to free our perception how it all works. Okay, so number 3.
Yeah. An unforgiving thought does many things. In frantic action, it pursues its goal, twisting and overturning what it perceives as interfering with its chosen path. Distortion is its purpose, and the means by which it accomplishes it as well. It sets about its furious attempts to smash reality without concern for anything that would appear to pose a contradiction to its point of view.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday, didn't we? Again, just the unforgiving thought is just a stuck, false thought of it interferes with our chosen path. It's twisting. It's distorted. Just sets in a very furious reality. It has no concern for anything that would get in its way. Yeah. It's not very pleasant, an unforgiving thought.
No. Not at all. Smashing reality, he says that quite well. Distortion is its purpose. So it's smashing reality, truth, without concern for anything that appears to pose a contradiction to its point of view. So it's not concerned about forgiveness or love or peace or joy or any of these things. It's just like, no, I'm angry because this person has done this. I'm upset. They deserve to be punished. I'd like to hurt them. These kinds of thoughts, and that nothing will, if someone is fixated in that mindset, nothing will move them.
No.
And they're really smashing reality. The reality of perfect love is smashed in their mind, and they now, live in this false, illusory world where apparently attack and hatred and being a victim and murder are real. But they've just smashed reality. And made it a hellish reality, which it's not. It's just a miscreation of the mind. So he describes it quite well. It pursues its goal, frantic action. twisting and overturning what it perceives as interfering with its chosen path. So it's going to overturn any attempt to forgive. So that's not its chosen path. Okay. So number 4, happy to move on.
Yeah. Letting go, on the other hand, is still and quietly does nothing. It offends no aspect of reality, nor seeks to twist it to appearances I like. It merely observes, waits, and does not judge. But I, who do not want to let go, must judge, for I must justify my failure to let go. But I, who want to let go of my separate self, must learn to welcome the truth exactly as it is.
What's he saying there?
Well, letting go or forgiving is something that is still and does nothing. It offends no aspects of reality, no twisting of appearances. It just observes, waits, and does not judge. But the separate self struggles with that, to let go of judgment, even though deep down we know it's false.
So it's very sort of Buddhist in its outlook. It offends no aspect nor seeks to let it twist it to appearance. It merely observes, waits, and does not judge. So the detachment of a practice like Vipassana, we talked about spiritual practices yesterday, and different.
Yeah.
It's 6 of one and half a dozen of another. When you detach and you look at something objectively without judgment, he's saying this is forgiveness. Right? So if people say, well, that's not, you're practicing a spiritual practice like that, where you just detach, you observe, you wait, you don't judge, it's not forgiveness. That's not correct. He's just telling us that it is the same thing. So there's really no difference. And we can just let go of our judgment and just observe without any of those judgments. Something very profound happens. We go into a different reality. It takes us into the real world, the world seen through the eyes of forgiveness that is peaceful and happy, because we let go of our own judgment of everything. And eventually that takes you beyond this world. You just don't come back to this world. So I want to let go of my separate self, must learn to welcome truth exactly as it is. And so I don't try and twist it, distort it, change it to suit me. Just see it exactly as it is. Which means what does that is letting go. When I let go of all of my own distortions, my judgments, then I start to become aware of the truth exactly as it is. You see why letting go is so powerful.
Yeah.
Just removes the blocks or the distortions, so that what's already there and has always been there reveals itself. Okay? So number 5, do nothing then.
Therefore, I do nothing and allow letting go to show me what to do through my guide, my awakener and protector, strong in hope and certain of my ultimate success. I have never been condemned, but only loved by this loving presence for such is its function, given to it by pure formless awareness of perfect love. Now I must share its function and let go of all condemnation towards perfect love's extension that it has awakened, whose innocence it perceives, and whom it honors as the extension of perfect love.
What he's saying in that one.
Just the fact of you letting go and do nothing, then the guide will reveal itself, and the awakener and the protector, strong in hope, will the success is the ultimate. It's guaranteed. And we know that we've never been condemned. Of course, we need to share this gift. Yeah, so just to melt into the perfect love, perfect love, the innocence that we truly are, and just let it go.
Let it go, let it go, let it go. Let it
Is
go.
that the Beatles?
Was it the Beatles? It just came to me. Let it go, let it go.
I think it was in a
I think
James
there's
Bond.
a song like.
Was it not in a James Bond film?
Was it?
It was one of the theme
good.
music. I think it was, yes. It's an old one, of course. Not the new chap. Maybe. What's his name?
Roger Moore or something.
No, the next one. Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. He was the original one.
Ah, right. So maybe it might have been Roger Moore, yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah, it was in the James Bond.
Let go of all condemnation. So it's a big ask. It's saying, don't condemn anyone. Anything. Whatever you're holding against anyone is condemning perfect love's extension. And is denying the oneness of the Father and the Son. It's denying your source in that process. So one thought of something wrong, a sin, splits your mind and denies pure formless awareness that perfect love is real. Which is why he's teaching us to not make exceptions. Make no exceptions. This is an all or nothing deal. You've got to let go entirely of the ego, surrender completely to the Holy Spirit. All right, so that's the introduction.
You have to do that every day for the week. Is that right?
Every day until we get to the next insert, which will be lesson 231. So there's
quite a few days.
There's an insert for every 10 lessons from now until the end of the year. Of the 365
I
days.
shall remember to do that tomorrow.
Yeah. So read it at least once during the day, in a meditative, contemplative way, and then practice the lesson. Because he's given us a very short lesson. It's just 2 paragraphs. Right. So okay, well got a little bit of extra time to do 5 paragraphs of this, and really inculcate. Okay, this is what forgiveness is.
Yeah.
Just start to really program that in, so that becomes part of your default thought system. Yes, understand these concepts deeply, I understand that I have to, there's no choice. I must let go completely. There's no holding on to some aspects of the ego, thinking that I'm letting go. It's got to be comprehensive.
And doing it straight away. So when something's triggered you, the idea is to do it within that second.
Yeah, ideally as quickly as possible, straight away.
Yeah. I'll try. Work in progress.
Work in progress.
Yeah.
Just keep on practicing. That's why it's practice. It's this ongoing practice. That's the work. Practice.
It's the radical forgiveness. That's the hardest one, because you have to literally say to yourself, that was all false. It's not even real.
Yeah.
Rather than the Prasada forgiveness, where you
pseudo.
The pseudo one. I do that one. Yeah. Do you think, oh well, she's obviously had a hard life, blah blah blah.
Oh well, that was the halfway forgiveness. Or
I do a lot of that. Yeah.
Oh well, which is better than just outright condemnation.
Oh yeah,
but you still make it real in your mind. That's the problem.
Yeah. So it's still definitely.
So you're going, well, it's really happened, and I'm just trying to now mitigate the effects of it in my mind by saying, oh well, she's had a hard life or a tough childhood, or she's been abused or victimized herself or whatever.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Yeah. But actually what you want to do is go, no. Remember, Elaine, none of it is true. None of it's real. What you're seeing is an illusion. So don't try and get into the illusion and now start spinning stories in the illusion and justifying the illusion, because it makes it real. You start doing that, it justifies it. It says, yeah, well, actually in the illusion, now you've made the past real. She has a past, which is apparently real. And now that's causing her to do this in the present. And, these things are real. I'm trying to understand them and mitigate them and, not judge them, but I'm making them real in the process, in my perception.
Yeah.
And the Holy Spirit just says, no, don't get into any of that nonsense. Just remember, none of it is true. Right? It's all images. She is an image projected onto the screen of time and space by the ego. Her body, her personal identity, her story, it's all part of the hallucination, the dream. Projection. And none of it is true. So don't try and mitigate the effects of what's not true. Just recognize that it's not true. That's the Holy Spirit's approach, which cuts through the whole illusion. It's like the what was it called? The knot, Phrygian knot or something. Quite a good analogy to this. So the legend goes that Alexander the Great, the conqueror of Asia, he was on his campaigns in Asia. He's entering Asia on his way to India. And there was a legend that, the person who could undo this knot would conquer the world. So he sees this knot, an incredibly complex, knot that's been around for centuries. And instead of trying to undo it, he just takes his sword and he cuts through it. Just cuts through the rope. So this is what radical forgiveness does. It's like, okay, you're just going to cut through all of that complexity. You can spend hours trying to figure out the knot and, I've got to undo, or just go, right, you just cut through it, sever it, because none of it's true. The knot, the complexity of, all the knots that the ego's tied us in is not true. And those knots are mental and emotional knots. None of that is true. It's all based on a false idea that we are somehow separate from our source. So you cut through all of that and remind yourself, no, I'm not separate. Actually, this pure formless awareness of perfect love is still there. It's still in my mind, and I can experience it right now. in response to whatever knots the ego is trying to entangle me. So it's like taking the sword every time and just cutting through it and going, no, I'm not going to go down the road of analyzing it and comparing it and going, oh, shame, poor her, she's had a tough life. No, stop that thinking. Just remind yourself, it's not true. It's not real.
Yeah.
Therefore, why are you even thinking about it? Why are you thinking or feeling about it at all? Why not just stay in peace?
Oh, yeah.
So then you don't get stuck in the
Practice.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. And that's the work in progress, is to practice that, bringing the truth, bringing the illusions to the truth. So when those illusions come and they try and convince you of their truth, you go, no. I bring them to the truth of pure formless awareness of perfect love, which says they are unreal, they don't exist. And I find this peace and calm, this emptiness because of that. And in that emptiness is a fullness, because I'm no longer believing in all this complexity. I'm just open to the truth that underlies it, that shines through.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go into the lesson then. Just read that again.
God is my Father, and his Son loves him. Perfect love is my source, and its extension loves it.
Hmm.
The alternative?
Read the
My
alternative.
source.
It's going to be pretty much the same, except Father becomes my source.
Yeah. My source, I must return your love for me, for giving and receiving are the same, and you have given all your love to me. I must return it, for I want it mine in full awareness, blazing in my mind and keeping it within its kindly awareness. Inviolate, beloved, with fear behind and only peace ahead. How still.
Yeah, finish it. Finish it?
Yeah.
This is like violet. And violet meaning is free or safe from injury or violation.
Yeah.
That's what inviolate means. So
Yeah.
So
free from it.
Safe. Free or safe from injury or violation. Let me just get into the where are we? 225. Better word could be
safe from violence.
Inviolate.
It's a bit long, that, isn't it? It's a bit long-winded.
Yeah, it's sort of quite old-fashioned. Free or safe from injury or violation. When it's kindly awareness, safe, beloved, fear behind, and only peace ahead.
Yeah, I like safe.
Oh.
I don't know. Does it lose the context of the sentence?
Violence? No, I don't think so. Safe means free or safe from injury or violation. So safe implies all of that. If
Yeah.
you're safe, you're not going to be hurt or harmed in any way.
True. Yeah, true. So where was I? I must return to it, for I want it mine in full awareness, blazing in my mind, and keeping it within its kindly awareness, safe, beloved, fear behind and only peace ahead. How still the way your loving extension is led along to you.
The thoughts on that?
Well, it's clear. We must return as soon as we can back to our source so that we can then return to our right place of safety and fear left behind and peace ahead of us.
Yeah, and these are very experiential. There's nothing intellectual to discuss, is it? It's just a pointer. The words are being used to point you back into the state of mind, into a safe, connected state. So they're very, they're designed to take you into that state in a meditation, rather than to be pondered over and intellectually analyzed and discussed. That was all in the first part of it. Now it's much more like, okay, just go into this state of peace through these lessons. So it's the prayer, you're addressing your own higher self, your own source when you say the prayer. And then an affirmation, I find that stillness now. Want to read the second one?
I find that stillness now. The way is open. Now I follow it in peace together with Yeshua. He has reached his hand to me and will never leave me. We are one, and it is only the oneness that I seek. As I accomplish these few final steps, which end a journey that was not begun.
Quite profound.
Yeah, nice.
End a journey that has not begun.
So it just never got started. It was never real. That's obviously what it means. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a mind twist of note. So I'm on a journey, but the journey wasn't real.
Yeah.
And these thoughts are how you undo it. How you undo the ego. You just deny its reality. You go, you think it's all real. You think it's really happened, but these thoughts deny that it's happened. Say, you never really, none of the dream is real. They're literally mind blowing. People say it's blowing your mind. This stuff does blow your ego mind away. So my entire life, my life story, my history, every story I've ever had, every life I've ever had, none of it is true. None of it's real. And that doesn't rock your world at all. Nothing will. It's like, whoa. When you start to understand this course, it's like, whoa, what he's saying is radical. Which means, it gets to the essence, it gets to the core. Radix means root in Latin. It gets to the very root of the problem of human existence. And says, go to the root, which is this idea of separation, that you think you've separated from your source. And at that root, you deny it. And you say, no, there is no separation. I never did separate from my source. That's not possible. The source is still there. We've just covered it over with all this ridiculous nonsense in my mind. It's now projected out and has created this false reality. And all that false reality is doing is covering over It's a veil of illusion that covers over the truth of who I really am. And that's the only thing that's going on here. So my only purpose here is to let go, remove the blocks to awareness of love's presence, so that that presence can reveal itself, and I come to know again who I really am, what my true reality is, through this letting go process that I can only experience in time and space while I'm apparently here. Okay, so that makes sense?
Yeah.
One, and it's only this oneness that I seek as I accomplish these few final steps which end a journey that was not begun. If you really get that, it's like it's already happened. The journey was over already.
Yeah.
We're just playing out a dream sequence, you know, the ending of a dream that was never real. The winding up of this unreal dream, which we've been caught up in for so long, just playing itself out and winding up and coming to a close and ending. And that's what you're doing with the rest of your life, is that conclusion, wrapping up process, so that by the time you finally leave this life, you lay your body aside, you're done. It's like in your mind, you absolutely crystal clear that this is not reality. There's no way you're coming back into a body to experience another life in something that is unreal. Then you're free. Okay. Any further thoughts on that?
That's good.
I think a key thing, you know, you find all of this in the stillness. The truth that lies in the stillness. So these words point you to that stillness, which then helps you experientially know truth. In that stillness, you come to know it. And you accomplish these few final steps, which end the journey that was not begun. And that's very reassuring. Well, it's a done deal. It's going to happen. I've just got to go through the few remaining steps that this course will guide me to take my mind fully back to oneness, to the point where I merge with my source, and any need to be a separate individual is over. Okay, so any other comments, questions, or thoughts on that? Otherwise, we could do a meditation mode if you like now. And then still got time to do the text tonight. If you okay to go till sort of opus 9:10. 7 paragraphs. All right.
Yep. I'll just mute.
So just making yourself comfortable. Where in this recording? Oh, it is recording. Okay. Yeah. So just make yourself comfortable, sitting in your favorite meditation posture with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. You cup your hands in the lap, you close your eyes. And you start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. And breathing in, noticing how stomach rises and chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And you pause at the top of the inhale. Clench the sphincter muscle, so it's a power breath we did yesterday. Maximal inhale breath. Pause, you hold the breath. Scan your mind, notice any thoughts, emotions, related body sensations going on for you. Breathe into them. Top yourself up, another sip of air in. And you remind yourself that perfect love is my source. And its extension loves it. So I love my source. Perfect love is my source, and I love my source. And breathe that in. And be willing just to let go of whatever seems to block that. Any block to your deeper awareness, anything that makes you feel pleasant in any way, disturbs your peace, you observe it and just release it now with the help of your breath. So exhale, blow it out. Gone. Pull our stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And yourself that I must return, say my source, I must return your love for me. Forgiving and receiving are the same. So you can speak these words out loud. So you breathe in and breathe in, and then as you exhale, you speak the words. So my source, I must return your love for me. Forgiving and receiving are the same. Breathing in again. So I must return it, for I wanted mine, in full awareness. And exhale as you speak those words. I wanted mine in full awareness. Breathe that awareness into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, part of your mind, fiber of your being. So awareness is blazing in my mind and keeping it within its kindly awareness. Exhale, blazing in my mind, and feel that let this awareness blaze in your mind, shine through in your mind, keeping it within its kindly awareness. Your mind is in its right mind, in its loving, kind state. Kindly awareness, he calls it. Safe, beloved, the fear behind and only peace ahead. And breathe in and just embrace safety, belovedness, fear behind and only peace ahead. And just sink into the peace. Now still the way your loving extensions led along to you. Now still the way your loving extensions led along to you. So you sink into this deep peace. Sink into the stillness. Don't worry about the noise of the dogs barking. Just you let that go. Use it as part of the meditation and just release, let go, and restore yourself to the deep peace, the undisturbable, unchangeable peace that lies within you. And breathing in again. So I find that stillness now. Breathe it into every pore, every cell, every part of your body, every part of your mind. Your entire being is still, calm, quiet. The way is open. The way to the stillness is open to you, in other words. And you can follow it. So now I follow it in peace. Together with Yeshua. So sink into the peace. Blow it out and find the peace. Yeshua has reached his hand to me and will never leave me. Feel that hand of your guide, your teacher, perhaps even touching you now, comforting you. Telling you it's going to be okay. It's all going to be fine because we are one. Breathe in again. So we are one. And it's only this oneness that I see. As I accomplish these few final steps which end the journey that was not begun. Exhale the truth of that, have a sense of letting go, releasing into the inevitability of this tranquil end to this mad dream, separation from the source. It's inevitable, it's just going to be let go of, it's going to wind up. A few final steps saying to take, but really no big deal, nothing to worry about. And so surrender into the stillness and the peace. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just really relax, be still, and enter into peace. and called the peace of God, peace of thinking inwards, going deeper and deeper into this peace, deeper with each breath. The breath carry you deeply into the peace, to the quietness and the stillness. Any thoughts arise that seem to disturb this deep peace, let's bring them to the truth that your source is here now, present with you, and the love that unites you. Love it and it loves you because you are one. It's just one and the same awareness. The connection between the different parts of that awareness we call love. So remind yourself that perfect love is my source, and I love it. Truth is, I am it. In the I am being awareness, that is divine love. That's unconditional love, filled and expressed. So just sink into this deep peace. It beckons you, that calls you. It's called you since time began. Give it its due now. Give it a few minutes and just sink into the stillness. The lesson points to says, sink into the stillness now. The way is open. Follow it in peace together. Yeshua guiding and holding your hand helps you. Just imagine that, holding your hand. He's leading you deep downward into the depths of your being, into the deep peace that this brings you. For the next couple of minutes of deep silence, just let him lead you into the very depths of your being. Experience the peace that surpasses all understanding. As it's been called, it can only be experienced when you do that. next 2 minutes of deep silence. No, just gently coming back in this deep connected state into awareness of the body, breath, senses, and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Also the top of the inhale, smile. Scan your mind. Just noticing thoughts, emotions, notice body sensations, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way, shape, or form. And you just blow them out, letting it all go. And the breeze of your breath, remind yourself that perfect love is your source and you love it. Don't blow anything seems to deny that unity of you and your source away. Going gone. Dark smoke, black clouds just blown away. And you rest in this deep peace and stillness, quietness. For a few moments. Notice on the count of 2, the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground, noticing what you're feeling and touching, subtle taste in your mouth, perhaps a smell in your nose. Notice what you're hearing, surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very still, calm, and surrendered state of mind, state of mind without illusions. Only the truth is present, only the truth is true. And notice what you're feeling and touching, tasting, maybe subtle smell in your nose. Notice what you're hearing, surrounding environment. Notice all these things from this very still, calm, and surrendered state of peace that you can maintain as you open your eyes. On the count of 3, open your eyes. And just take a minute to look around, observe the various objects in the room around you. In this still, calm, peaceful way. Without judgment, it's all the same, just peace. So look at something, notice your object, As your state of mind is very calm, restful, not naming or judging or labeling or interpreting it in any way. And it's the same state of mind when you close your eyes as when you open it. So close your eyes briefly. Notice your internal state of mind. Notice the peace that's there. You open your eyes, notice the same peace. Nothing's really changed. So you're teaching your mind that sense perceptions really don't affect your underlying peace, which is major mind training goal of this course. And just look around at a few other objects randomly selected and make any attempt to choose anything. It's whatever you happen to see. Okay, and notice the same piece. Whether your eyes are closed or open, so you can alternate as you choose between eyes closed and eyes open, and notice the same peaceful state. Irrespective of what you look at, whether your eyes are closed or open, and so you learn that this peace is the truth. This peace is always with you. And it helps you to remain in peace. So anchor the state in for the rest of the session, the rest of the evening. Set the intention to do that. So it is said and so it is done. And this peace will now carry you into the next part of the session, which is our text reading. So that brings us to meditation to an end. All right, so let's have a look at the meditation, at the text, shall we?
Yeah.
Where are we? Okay, so this one is called Beyond All Symbols. Section 3 of chapter 27. 7 paragraphs. So I'm going to go straight into it, Elaine.
Yeah.
And the alternative.
Yeah. Power cannot oppose, for opposition would weaken it, and weakened power is a contradiction in ideas. Weak strength is meaningless, and power used to weaken is employed to limit, and therefore it must be limited and weak, because that is its purpose. Power is unopposed to be itself. No weakness can intrude on it without changing it into something it is not. To weaken is to limit and impose an opposite that contradicts the concept that it attacks. And by this does it join to the idea as something is, it is not, and make it unintelligible. Who can understand a double concept such as weakened power or hateful love?
And by this, it joins. Does it join? Joins to the idea something it is not. Does it join to the idea something that it is not? Or does it joins to the idea something it is not? It makes it unintelligible. Unintelligible makes it unintelligible means not understandable. So we'll just keep this. You can understand a double concept such as weakened power or hateful love. And the double, so an apparently contradictory concept. Such as weakened power or hateful love. Just read it from the top again, no? Should we okay with the translation?
Power cannot oppose, for opposition would weaken it, and weakened power is a contradiction in ideas. Weak strength is meaningless, and power used to weaken it, is employed to limit, and therefore it must be limited, not limited and weak, because that is its purpose. Power is unopposed, to be itself. No weakness can intrude on it without changing it into something it is not. To weaken is to limit and impose an opposite that contradicts the concept and it attacks. And by this, it joins the idea that something it is not and makes it unintelligible. Who can understand an apparently contradictory concept such as weakened power or hateful love?
Yeah, apparently contrary. Yeah, there's a weakened power, hateful love. These are the kinds of contradictions the ego tries to get us to contemplate and understand. And it's just saying it's not understandable. It doesn't make any sense. Power is power. If it's power, then it's power. And anything that's not that is not power. So you can't then call it power. It's not weakened power. It's just not power. It's the opposite of power, which is actually nothing. So true power, which then I've capitalized P there, because what he's referring to there is in the same order of reality as love, peace, joy, source. It's all in the same reality. Unopposed, he's pointing to a non-dual truth, to be itself. True power is merely itself. Okay, so what's he saying here other than that? Anything?
Well, a weakened power or a hateful love is contradictory, and so it's meaningless.
Yeah. It's not understandable, it's not intelligible, it's nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Number 2.
number 2 then.
I have decided that my comparison is a symbol for hateful love, a weakened power. Oh,
my companion.
I've decided that my companion is a symbol for a hateful love, a weakened power, and above all, a living death. And so he has no meaning to me, for he stands for what is meaningless. He represents a double thought where half is cancelled out, but out by the remaining half. Yet even this is quickly contradicted by the half it cancelled out, and where am I? Just got lost. Cancelled out. Yeah. And so they both are gone. So yeah, yet even this quickly contradicted by the half, it cancelled out, and so they are both gone. And now he stands for nothing. Symbols which can only represent ideas that cannot be, must stand for empty space and nothingness. Yet nothingness and empty space cannot be interference. What can interfere with the awareness of reality in the belief in separation, that there is something there?
The awareness of reality of the belief in separation. There's something there. And what can interfere with the awareness of reality is the belief in separation. That there is something there. About that, just as a belief in separation, believes there's something really there. And what's here? Just read it again if you don't mind from the top. Just make sure we got that correct.
I've decided that my companions are a symbol for a hateful love, a weakened power, above all, a living death. And so they have no meaning to me, for they stand for what is meaningless. They represent a double thought where half is cancelled out by the remaining half. Yet even this is quickly contradicted by the half it cancelled out, and so they are both gone. And now they stand for nothing. Symbols which only represent ideas that cannot be must stand for empty space and nothingness. Yet nothingness and empty space cannot be interference. What can interfere with the awareness of reality is the belief in separation, that believes there is something really there.
Okay, so what's he saying?
It's in the contradiction of the hateful love and weakened power. And we've decided that our companions are a symbol of this, and above all, a living death. So really, there's no meaning, because it's a double thought. So one half is cancelled out, and from the remaining half, yet then it's quickly contradicted by the half that's been cancelled out. So they are both gone, and they stand for nothing. So symbols which only represent
nothingness and empty space can't interfere with the truth. Cannot. I think what he means, cannot be interference. Cannot interfere.
Yeah.
With the truth. What can interfere with reality? Interfere with the awareness of reality. The belief in separation. It believes there is something really there. That makes these illusions real. Because there is actually something really going on. And these contradictions are real. Which doesn't make any sense, because how can you have a contradiction? It's something that contradicts itself, really. surely it's one thing or the other. But in the ego's upside down world, you can apparently have things like a hateful love, or weakened power, or living death. And then we see people with a split mind. Companions are a symbol for a hateful love. So I love them. Let's say there's a special love relationship going on, but I hate them. I love to hate them. That's the special relationship. A weakened power. The ego seems to give me power in my grandiosity, my puffing myself up, but actually that weakens me. And above all, a living death. So I seem to be living here, but actually I'm going to death. Every person is on the timeline to their inevitable death in this world. So it's a living death. I'm saying these contradictions are meaningless. Double thought. Now, I think it would be better to say paradoxical thought. Because a paradox is an inherent contradiction. They represent a paradoxical thought. The half is cancelled out by the other half. But even this is quickly contradicted by the half it cancelled out. This is a split mind. I think we've all experienced, this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm vacillating like this. Oh no, actually change my mind. This, and I vacillate, and the one thought cancels out the other. And if I keep doing that, I go nowhere. The two just cancel each other out, and I end up being immobilized. Which he says, now they stand for nothing. And symbols which only represent ideas that cannot be must stand for empty space and nothingness. So actually what's beyond them is empty space and so-called nothingness, no thingness. But he's saying yet nothingness and space cannot really interfere with reality. Cannot really interfere with reality. What can interfere with my awareness of reality is the belief separation, my belief in separation that believes there is something really there. There's something really going on. The paradox, the contradiction is real. That's what the belief in separation wants you to believe in. And so this entire world, all of our experiences here are paradoxical. They're based on this belief in something that's not really there. The belief in a paradox, that a paradox is real. That explains why you can't really ever make sense of this world, because you're trying to make sense of what's paradoxical and doesn't make sense. A bit like some of those puzzles where they show the impossible staircase, or this kind of diagram. I'll show you now. In the course pack, this is a paradox, and there's no answer to it. From different perspectives, you see that this cube on the right here is a paradox. It doesn't make sense, and you can look at it as much as you like, and it doesn't make sense because there's something flawed about the design. That should be behind and not in front in order to make sense of it. It goes through. So now what should be behind has actually come to the front, and it doesn't. That's why it doesn't make sense. And try as you might, you'll never make that work because it's inherently paradoxical. So Yeshua is just asking us to see that and say, well, see that this doesn't make sense. These concepts of a hateful love and weakened power and a living death and loving and hating your brothers at the same time don't make sense. You're in a paradox. You're in a split mind. That doesn't make any sense. So let it go. Let it go to heal it. Okay, happy to move on to number 3.
Yeah. The picture of my companion that I see means nothing. There is nothing to attack or to deny, to love or hate, or to endow with power or to see as weak. The picture has been wholly cancelled out because it symbolized a contradiction that cancelled out the thought it represents. And thus the picture has no cause at all. Who can perceive effect without a cause? What can the causeless be but nothingness? The picture of my companion that I see is wholly absent and has never been. Let then the empty space it occupies be recognized as vacant, and the time devoted to its seeing is perceived as idly spent, a time unoccupied.
Yeah, so I let and the empty space it occupies be recognized. Maybe instead of I let that, just say I choose. Choose to recognize the empty space it occupies as vacant, and the time devoted to its perception be perceived. Choose to recognize the empty space occupies as vacant, and the time I devoted to its perception choose to recognize the empty space that occupies vacant. The time I devoted to its perception is idly spent. The time in which I was unoccupied. If I was occupied with nothing, then I was really unoccupied. So this world seems to have all this content and all this stuff going on, but it's actually just blank. It's unoccupied. It's false. The false is false is false, and everything that happens in the false is not true and is not real. This is what he's trying to teach us. I choose to recognize the empty space it occupies as merely vacant, and all the time I spent in its pursuit is really unoccupied. And so I let go of all these ego preoccupation and return my mind to the truth in so doing. Okay. So read it, we can read that from the top of it. Just make sure we got the translation right, and then just give your own summary.
The picture of my companion that I see means nothing. There is nothing to attack or deny, to love or hate, to endow with power or to perceive as weak. The picture has been wholly cancelled out because it symbolized a contradiction that cancelled out the thought it represents. And so the picture has no cause at all. Who can perceive effect without cause? What can be causeless be but nothingness? The picture of my companions that I perceive is wholly absent and has never been there. I choose to recognize the empty space it occupies as vacant, and at the same time devoted to its perception as idly spent, a time in which I was really unoccupied.
There's that to see. So what's he saying in this one?
Well, the thought of our companion, or the picture of our companion that we thought we saw, means nothing. There's nothing to attack or deny, love or hate. The picture's been cancelled out because it's a contradiction. And so the picture has no cause at all. So who can see something without a cause? Because effect and cause go together.
They do.
So, yeah. So it's, yeah.
I'm cancelling out in these perceptions. I'm cancelling out everything I previously valued. So the picture I see means nothing. I've judged my companion, my companions, as all kinds of things. You know, as victims and victimizers and persecutors, and I like that person, I don't like that person, and on it goes. And he's saying it means nothing. There's nothing really there. It's a false image that you're seeing. The picture, the person's body, their self-concept, their identity in this world, there's nothing there. It's all an illusion. To attack or deny, to love or hate, to endow with power, to perceive as weak. Picture's been wholly cancelled out because it symbolizes the contradiction, it cancelled out the thought it represents. It symbolized the contradiction. It cancelled out, the contradiction cancelled out the thought it represents. Does that make sense? The picture's been wholly cancelled out. It's been completely and completely. Because it symbolized the contradiction. Okay? So the picture is a symbol of contradiction. The contradiction cancelled out the thought it represents, the picture represents. So it's all very contradictory and self-defeating. The ego cancels itself out. We just have to realize that by this logic, he's helping us to realize that this is the case. It actually negates itself, it cancels itself out. So the picture has no cause at all because it cancels itself out. It's a result of a contradictory thought. And so this, the thought behind the picture is cancelled out by the picture. It's been completely cancelled out because it symbolized the contradiction. And the contradiction cancelled out, maybe cancels out, it's been completely cancelled out because it symbolizes a contradiction that cancels out. And it cancels out the denies. Cancel, we'll keep cancel. It cancels out the thought the picture represents. It doesn't make much sense. You start looking at something like, what? But then that's the insane logic of the ego. It cancels itself out. Seems to make sense, but if you really unpack it, it doesn't make sense.
Mm.
And so its projections are actually cancelled out by the very same thought system that seemed to project them. And therefore his conclusion is the picture has no cause at all. So the picture has no real cause at all. And who can perceive effect without a cause? And I was getting into looking at cause and effect. Who can perceive effect without a cause? Can you really perceive effect without a cause? What can the causeless be except nothingness? I choose to recognize the empty space it occupies as vacant, and the time I devote to its perception as idly spent. Time which I was really unoccupied. How about as a wasted time,
Mm-hmm.
in which I was really unoccupied? Okay, so in summary, what's he saying in this paragraph?
I thought I'd just give him a little one. Well, it's just, well, a contradiction. The ego, what we feel about our companions, it's just not, the picture's not real because it cancels itself out. It has no cause, so it's
I think
nothingness.
that's what he's trying to get us to see. You know, the insanity of this is all contradictory, and therefore the only answer to this, instead of trying to go into the ego's thought system and make sense of it, which, let's say, in the compassionate forgiveness attempt, you do it, trying to somehow make sense of what doesn't make sense and resolve a paradox. You just cut through it, that analogy of cutting through the knot. Just go, just cut through it. Don't get involved in all of that complexity of thinking, trying to work it out, because it doesn't make sense. That's what the Holy Spirit's saying. This thought system, the so-called reality that is its projection, does not make sense. You will never make sense of it, like the impossible cube. You can look at that forever and try and make sense of it, and you never will, because it doesn't make sense. It's inherently flawed. By design, it's flawed. So it will never make sense within the framework of truth. In an illusion, you can go, oh yeah, that's, you could try and believe that, but that is always going to remain an internal contradiction, a paradox within the system. And you can't resolve it except by saying that that is not real, right? So this is false. It's a false cube. This whole construct is unreal. It doesn't exist. So you would just erase it. Go, okay, well, problem gone. I'm not trying to figure out the problem anymore. I just erase it. Now I'm just looking at, blank white paper.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no problem anymore when I erase it because the construct doesn't exist anymore in my mind. And that's the Holy Spirit's approach to this. Rather than endlessly trying to analyze this and make sense of it and justify it and try and find a way to make the impossible work, it simply says it's impossible. So don't try and make the impossible work. Just let it go and deny its reality. And so this then becomes the blank, white page or canvas or screen. You restore your mind to that emptiness, which is what he's kind of pointing to here. Recognizing that the time you spent trying to solve an impossible problem was not well spent at all. It was a waste of time. So think of this world as this impossible cube. And you spent your time here trying to figure it out, trying somehow to make sense of it and make it work. Desperately sometimes, and over you try, and yet that contradiction remains. You can't resolve that contradiction ever, because it's a design flaw from the beginning of the ego's thought system. That paradox, that contradiction is in there from the beginning, because in order to exist, it had to deny perfect love, which is true reality. So it had to break the rules of reality in order to seemingly come into existence, and that is the paradox, which you can never resolve. So you have to let go of the whole construct and go, actually, that paradox just doesn't exist. That's the only way out of the paradox. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So moving swiftly on then to number 4. An empty space.
An empty space that is not seen as filled, an unused interval of time, not seen as spent and fully occupied, become a silent invitation to the truth to enter and to make itself at home. No preparation can be made that would...
I think just pause it there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put that into first person into active rather than passive tense. So is not, instead of is not perceived, I do not perceive an empty space. An empty space. An empty space. That I do not perceive as filled. Unused interval time. I do not see the spent. Fully occupied. Sneakers. And the silent invitation to the truth. To enter and make itself at home. Okay. I'll carry on with number 2.
No preparation can be made that would enhance the invitation's real appeal. For what I leave.
Just pause. I can make within the active. I can make no preparation that would enhance the invitation's real appeal.
Yeah. For what I leave as vacant, pure formless awareness of perfect love will fill, and where it is there must be the truth live. Unweakened power with no opposite.
Formless one will fill, and where it is, there must the truth. Okay, and so the truth. And truth must love. And the truth must love where it is. For what I leave vacant, the formless awareness of perfect love will fill. And the truth must live where it is. Okay, so pure formless awareness of perfect love is God, the original. Okay, seem to have done the. Never mind, I'll fix that later. I've done two alternatives on the original. So make no preparation, no enhance. Invitations a real appeal. Okay. For what I leave vacant. Number 4, unweakened power.
Unweakened power with no opposite is what extension is. For this, there are no symbols. Nothing points beyond the truth, for what can stand for more than everything. Yet true correction must be kind, and so the first replacement for my picture is another picture of another kind.
Yeah, so I think instead of extension, he's referring to creation. So it's being. Let me just actually go do this quickly. Sorry, I was doing this and I still made a mistake in copying and pasting. Yes, grab that there. And stick it in here. And I'll do the others. Let's just do, where were we? Number 4. For number 4. There we go. What you leave as vacant, God will fill. Where he is, there must the truth abide. It's original. So pure formless awareness of perfect love will fill. And the truth must live where this awareness is. So this awareness is the truth. Okay, unweakened power with no opposite. So I'm capitalizing power. because he's pointing to the same non-dual truth as the other words, pure formless oneness, perfect love, truth, etc., are pointing to as what creation. And again, so why that is small, what creation is, it should be capitalized. So in my opinion, creation is being, no opposite. Being is. So there are no symbols for this. Nothing points beyond the truth. Or what can stand for more than everything. Can I carry on, Elaine?
Can I just, one of my dogs needs to go to the toilet. I was just sending you a message. Could you finish that paragraph off?
Yeah, okay, sure.
And then just one of them is looking
You don't have
very.
to send me a message, just say it. Just
didn't want
speak.
to spoil your recording.
That's okay.
It goes on your recording. I don't want to spoil it. Yeah, no worries. Right, I'll just quickly take them out. I'll not be long.
Yeah.
Right, thanks.
What can stand for more than everything? A true correction must be kind. And so the first replacement for my picture is another picture of another kind. I'll read it again. An empty space that I do not perceive is filled. An unused interval of time I do not perceive is spent and fully occupied. Become a silent invitation to the truth to enter and make itself at home. So it's the idea that I become an empty vessel. I'm opening my mind, I'm emptying my mind to allow the truth to enter. I can make no preparation that will enhance invitation's real appeal. Because the presence comes in now. So awareness comes only now. What I leave vacant, pure formless awareness, a perfect love will fill. So the idea again of an empty vessel. I empty my cup, I empty my vessel, and then this true awareness, my own pure formless awareness, a perfect love will fill the empty vessel. And the truth must live where it is. And we can power through the opposite, is what being is. And there are no symbols for this. Nothing points beyond the truth for what can stand for more than everything. A true correction must be kind. So the first replacement for my picture is another picture of another kind. So what he's saying here is that when we leave space, we empty our minds, we stop the attempt to try and make sense of a paradox, we allow the truth to come. A power with no opposite arises, without symbols. Because actually what could point beyond the truth? What can stand for more than everything? Yet, the true correction, true undoing must be kind. True correction must be kind. Undoing And so the first replacement for my picture is another picture of another kind. So we start changing the picture, which is the perception. A picture of my companions and of the world, which is faulty based on a false idea. I must change that picture to a picture of another kind, which shows me a different kind of world, the real world. That transformation of one picture into another is called change in perception, transformation of perception. It's called forgiveness. It's called the real world, vision of Christ. Many names really, the course. And that's how we start the process, changing one picture for another picture. There's nothing that cannot be pictured. Okay, so on to number 5. There's nothingness cannot be pictured, so there is no symbol for totality. I'm going to wait for a lane here, I think so. Give me a moment. I'll be back in a moment. Hi, Lane, are you back yet?
Are we on to number 5? Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Shall I start reading number 5?
Yeah, please.
Right. As nothingness cannot be pictured, so there is no symbol for totality. Reality is ultimately known without a form, unpictured and unseen. Letting go is not yet a power known as wholly free of limits. Yet it sets no limits I have chosen to impose. Letting go is the means by which the truth is represented temporarily. It lets the remembrance of perfect love make exchange of pictures possible until the time when aids are meaningless and learning done. No learning aid has use that can extend beyond the goal of learning. When its aim has been accomplished, it is functionless. Yet in the learning interval, it has a use that now I fear only yet will love.
No, but yet will love. Okay.
Yeah.
What's he saying here?
Well, nothingness can be pictured, or there's nothing. There's nothing to grab onto. And reality is ultimately known without a form. So it's unpictured, unseen. So it's the letting go. So we're sort of in this in-between stage. So once we're letting go, this is when the truth is represented temporarily. So it lets the remembrance of perfect love make, so this must be your Holy Spirit, exchange of pictures possible until the time where the aids are meaningless. So I suppose Sally's an example of that, isn't she? She's now gone into the pure form.
Well, I think she's still got some lessons to learn.
Oh yeah, yes.
As long as you're informed. But it's a transformation of perception. The exchange of pictures he's talking about is the picture of the world you have based on your belief system. And so the Holy Spirit is helping you to transform that, exchange the one picture of the ego, which is sin, guilt, fear, attack, hatred, anger, suffering, and death, and translate that, exchange it for another picture, which is one of love, peace, joy, happiness, and ultimately eternal life. And it's a transformation of our perception that this course is dealing with. Exchange of the pictures, which is meaningful while it's happening. In fact, it's the most meaningful thing that can possibly happen to you in time, because you're moving from the illusion to the truth, systematically and progressively in time, until the time when aids are meaningless and learning is over. So there's no need to let go anymore. There's no need to exchange pictures. Perception is over. Learning is done. And you simply are, you're back in the truth as pure forms and awareness of perfect love. Mm-hmm. And when its aim has been accomplished, its functions, the learning aids, so letting go is a learning aid. It has no meaning in heaven. It has no purpose, because in heaven there just is. It's pure being. Yet in the time of learning, it has a use that I now fear, but yet will love. So I come to love this idea of letting go, because of the benefits it brings me, because of what it does, how it helps me to heal my mind, and the experience it brings to me. So letting go is the bridge between the worlds. That's what takes me from my current state, unenlightened, unawakened, ignorant of the truth, to ultimately the point where I don't need to let go, because I simply am what I am. I am rooted in the awareness of the truth. Mm-hmm. So I now fear this use. Letting go seems to be fearful to my ego, but will yet love. Because once I understand what this is doing for me, letting go is taking me home to true reality, to where I've always belonged, where there's no pain, there's no suffering, there's no death. Why would I resist that? It's where I really want to be. Letting go is the means that takes me. It's the vehicle in which I get there. So, similarly, a vehicle is not needed when you arrive at your destination. If it's a permanent destination, you use the vehicle's done. Mm-hmm. Like once you get to the destination, it's your final permanent destination. You're not leaving that, then you don't need it. The vehicle's completely purposeless, isn't it? Yeah. The same idea. The letting go is the vehicle. It's not needed. But while you're driving and you're on the journey, then it's very needed. So in time, it's essential. The vehicle to get there is essential to get to the destination, until we arrive and then can go, well, that was just all learning. It was a learning aid. Not necessary now, because I just know the truth. I'm rooted in the knowledge of the truth now. Okay, so happy with number 5?
Yeah.
Okay, go on to number 6 then. Let me just, get these. I don't know how that happened, but okay. There's number 5 and number 6. Okay, picture of my
The picture of my companion given to me to occupy the space so lately left unoccupied and vacant will not need defense of any kind, for I will give it overwhelming preference, nor delay an instant in deciding that it is the only one I want. It does not stand for double concepts, though it is but half the picture and is incomplete. Within itself, it is the same. The other half of what represents remains unknown, but is not cancelled out, and thus is pure formless awareness of perfect love left free to take the final step itself. For this, I need no pictures and no learning aids, and what will ultimately take the place of every learning aid will merely be.
okay. So just read it again from the top. Just want to make sure got all the translations.
Picture of my companions given to me to occupy the space so lately left unoccupied and vacant will not need defense of any kind, for I will give it overwhelming preference, nor delay an instant in deciding that it is not, that it is the only one I want. It does not stand for paradoxical concepts, though it is only half the picture and is incomplete. Within itself, it is the same. The other half of what it represents remains unknown, but is not cancelled out. And so is pure formless awareness of perfect love left free to take the final step itself. For this, I need no pictures and no learning aids, and what will ultimately take the place of every learning aid will merely be.
Okay, so what's he saying in this one?
Well, now we're getting finally into this pure formless awareness space, and this is our preference, and we don't need to delay. We can decide this instant that it's the only one that we want, and it doesn't stand for any concepts or though it is only half the picture and is incomplete, but it's still the same within itself. So the other half, we don't know about that. It is not cancelled out. So that is the pure formless awareness of perfect love left free to take its final step. So we don't need any learning aids or pictures or anything. Just, that's it. Once you're in there, you're there.
I think what he means here, this will make sense. It does not cancel out. I think he means it does not cancel. Does not cancel out. The true half. Okay. And my letting go removes the paradox. There's no cancelling out of the truth by the illusion. It remains unknown to me. And does not cancel out the true half. So when I deny these things, that seem to be paradoxical, seem to contradict the truth, that then this falsity remains unknown to me, not acknowledging its reality, and it cannot cancel out the truth. That makes more sense. Read the original. So the original says, mode is but half.
Sorry. Well, can you read it? Because I'm getting a bit tired.
Okay, that is but half the picture is incomplete. Within itself is the same. The other half of what it represents remains unknown, but is not cancelled out. I think it would be clearer if we said, because he's saying the other half, in other words, the false half of what it represents remains unknown, but is not cancelled out.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he's referring to the other half of what it represents. Notice but half the picture is incomplete. Okay, picture of a brother.
Does it just
Notice
not
but
mean...
half the picture is incomplete. Within itself, it is the same. Other half of what it represents remains unknown, but is not cancelled out. Right. Okay, so I think what he's meaning is there's a half which we perceive in this world, which is the real world, and then the other half is the truth.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But is not cancelled out. So let's restore this to that. So it remains unknown. In other words, the other half of what it represents, right? The true picture. So it's representing the truth, remains unknown to me, but is not cancelled out by anything contradictory. So is, and now it makes sense to me. See what is meaning. Half we perceive in images and form is the real world. It's still a picture. It still has a form. What it represents, pure formless awareness of perfect love, is still unknown to me, but it's not cancelled out. In fact, the picture points to that truth. So when I see my brothers, my companions, my right mind, it points me to this truth of pure formless awareness, perfect love, rather than contradict it. That's what he's saying. And so is pure formless awareness of perfect love left free to take the final step itself. So the completion of the picture, so the whole truth becomes known to me. That is what Source does. And we can't learn that. As you say, I need no pictures, because there are no images, no pictures in truth. No learning it. It just comes when I'm ready. So what will ultimately take the place of every learning aid will merely be. And we say God is, and then we rest. It just is. And that final step, God takes himself. So this awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, gets stronger and stronger in our minds. We open our minds more and more to it. Eventually it just comes into our mind and completes the picture and takes us beyond all pictures and all learning aids. So we go into the pure non-dual awareness that has always been there, but was obscured for so many years because you didn't know it. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to number 7.
Yeah. Letting go vanishes and symbols fade. Nothing that the eyes have ever seen or ears have heard remains to be perceived.
Is it to my eyes?
Have ever seen and or ears have heard remains to be perceived. The power wholly limitless has come, not to destroy, but to receive its own.
We've got a wholly limitless power has come, not to destroy, but to receive its own. So this power of pure formless awareness comes into our mind and receives its own, itself, back into itself. We merge back into our true awareness.
Yeah. There is no choice function anywhere. The choice I fear to lose, I never had. Yet only this appears to interfere with power unlimited and single thoughts, complete and joyful, without opposite. I do not know the peace of power that opposes nothing, yet no other kind can be at all.
This appears to interfere with unlimited power and single thoughts, complete and joyful, without opposite. Okay, so unlimited power comes from single thought, not double thoughts, not paradoxical thoughts, just simple thoughts.
Yeah. I do not
Single
know.
means one, thoughts of oneness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do not know the peace of power, but it opposes nothing. No other kind can be at all. No other kind of peace or power really exists, is what it's saying. Give welcome to the power.
Give welcome to the power beyond letting go, beyond the world of symbols and of limitations. It would merely be, and so it merely is.
I welcome the power beyond letting go and beyond letting go, beyond the world of symbols and limitations. It would merely be, and so it merely is. It would merely be true, and so it merely is. And so we say, ultimate statement of truth or reality is, it is, God is, or love is, or I am. And then you rest. What else can you say?
Right.
It merely wants to be, and so it merely is. And so this awareness simply is our awareness. and we merely are it, and it is us. And this is the simplicity of the truth that all the great teachings and teachers point to. Merely is. And the only obstacle to that is your awareness. You don't believe it. You deny it. So you must, accept it back and start to recognize the truth as it merely is, which means you must let go of what seems to deny it. And letting go is in the aid to the revelation of the truth. And only one you need to make. Only one you need to use. Okay, so number 7, I want to give a quick summary, and then there's a couple of paragraphs of the personalized executive summary to do and a key message, and then we're done.
It's just letting go. It vanishes and symbols fade. There's nothing else other than, like you say, it is what it is. I am, and then that's it. Give it over. It's nothing. It's just jumping into that glorious, perfect peace and love and joy, where there's no limitations. Just mean he wants to be, and that's it. That's it. It is what it is.
Yeah, so he's pointing us to the state of pure formless awareness of perfect love, where it simply is. And this is the hallmark of the enlightened experiences that people report, that they go into a state of being where it just merely is. There's no technique, there's no practice, there's no process, it just is. And I had that mystic experience I had. It just was. It just is an awareness. There's nothing else going on but that awareness. It merely is. And I was aware that I was aware, but I wasn't even conscious. I wasn't going, oh, well, now I'm aware of this. There was no self-reflective thought. It just was.
Yeah.
A pure experience. And it wants to be, and so it really is. Amen. And we rest in that truth. Okay, so then there's personalized executive summary, which is 3 paragraphs. You want to read that? Just summarize the section.
Power cannot oppose any opposition, weakens it. Concepts like weakened power or hateful love are contradictory and unintelligible. I perceived my companion through a lens of contradiction, making him stand for meanings that are inherently meaningless. These flawed perceptions, which are rooted in beliefs of separation, leave me seeing an image that has no real foundation. The empty spaces in my understanding, when left vacant, beckon
So just pause. Just pause it. Just first paragraph. You will just summarize that briefly.
We're just talking about the weakened power and hateful love are contradictory and don't make sense. We perceived our companions in the lens of this contradiction. So it's been a waste of time, spent all these lives in the false contradiction, which makes no sense. It's meaningless. It's flawed. It's all rooted in this belief in separation, leaving us with images that really had no foundation.
Mm. The image that I have of my companions is a construct of my own mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's an image of them that has no reality and truth, no real foundation,
Mm-hmm.
which is why the special relationships of this world don't work, because you've got two images. My self-image, which is an image, interacts with my image of that person, and they do the same thing.
Yeah.
Their self-concept interacts with what they perceive in me to be my image, which they've created. It's partly, I show them stuff, my behavior and body and so on, but then they construct an image for me in their mind of what I am. And they relate to that image from their image. Their self-image relates to the image they construct for me. None of it's real. It's all images. It's all false and illusory.
Yeah.
Which is why these special relationships based on personal identity are doomed to fail, because it's just false images. One false image, my self-image, perceiving what I believe is real, but really is just a projection of my own mind. Your false self-image, your false self-image that I've constructed for you based on what I perceive you to be. So your behavior feeds into it. Then that behavior I use to construct this image that I choose to believe based on my own false beliefs. And so there's no reality to it at all. It's just one false self-image relating to another and thinking that that is all real, but that this dream world we've constructed with seemingly separate people is actually real. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Empty
Yes,
spaces in my understanding.
The empty spaces in my understanding, when left vacant, beckon truth to fill them. No deliberate preparation can make this invitation more genuine. Pure formless awareness of perfect love fills these spaces where truth dwells. Unopposed power is the essence of extension, which transcends symbolic representation. While symbols like pictures can aid in understanding temporarily, they ultimately have a limited role. The remembrance of perfect love facilitates the temporary exchange of these symbols until I reach a state where they no longer are needed.
So what's he saying there?
Well, it's getting very close to entering into pure formless awareness at this stage, where the truth dwells. There's more empty spaces that are left open for this truth to fill it, and so we'll enter into this peaceful state. Symbols won't be needed, no language. The remembrance of perfect love's job is redundant. Yeah.
And go beyond symbols into the pure truth.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last one, the image of my companion.
Excuse me. The image of my companion, despite being incomplete, is consistent within itself. its incompleteness does not negate the presence of pure formless awareness of perfect love. I realize that what will replace every learning aid is merely what's truly real and constant.
I just need to change that. So my perception of my companion, guided by moments of perfect love, despite being incomplete, is consistent within itself. Incompleteness does not negate the presence of pure formless awareness of perfect love. Realize that what will replace every learning aid is merely what's truly real and constant. Truly real and constant being forever. And forever true. Now, so what he's saying there is that although the Holy Spirit's perception is not complete, because perception can never be complete, it doesn't negate the presence of perfect love. It points to it. And eventually, these perceptions of my companion, these images, perceptions of my companions, guided by the remembrance of perfect love, inspired by the remembrance of perfect love, stifling and complete or consistent within my perception is consistent within itself. So although it's still working in form, in the images in perception, it doesn't negate the truth. And I realize that this presence that place every learning aid is merely what's truly place every learning is merely what presence that will replace every learning aid. I realize that this presence will replace every learning aid. And ultimately all realize that this presence places every learning aid merely is. It's a nice word. Presence merely is, and we exist in that, and only that. So we've realized it. And God is, and then we cease to speak. And that's where He's directing us. That's where He's taking. That's what the purpose of the course is. Take us to that point. Okay, and the key message. Just overall summary. I want to read that, Elaine.
Yeah. I've misperceived my companion through contradictory beliefs, leaving gaps in understanding. When these gaps remain open, truth fills them. By choosing to let go, I move beyond the limited perceptions to experience limitless power and profound peace, and realize the ever-present nature of pure formless awareness experientially.
Wow. Thoughts on that?
So, yeah, very clear. Very clear.
Good. I'm going to summarize that.
Just let go, and then the truth will be revealed.
Mm.
But we'll have the remembrance of perfect love helping us on the way, and then it'll become redundant once we're actually there.
Mm.
And that's where we'll be in our peace and joy and truth, and none of the wasting our time in the separate self.
Mm. Yeah. So again, he's pointing to letting go as the way, it's the means, it's a vehicle, it's part of the journey, but the destination doesn't require letting go. Once you're at the destination, it just merely is. God takes the final step, and you merely become who you really are again. And the journey that you thought you took into the delusion of being a separate self is no more. So it's completely undone. Which is why it says it was a journey that was never begun. Okay. So yeah, another good section. Do you want to do a meditation on it, or call it a night?
We can do a quick meditation, yeah, if you like. Yeah, if that's okay.
Okay. So yeah, we'll just do a med on the summary and the key message.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right. So okay. So it's meditation on today's text reading, section 3, chapter 27. Just meditate on the summary of it and the key message. So just closing your eyes, sitting comfortably in your meditation posture, back straight ideally, feet shoulder width apart, cup your hands in your lap, or put
Hands, palms facing upwards on your thighs. And take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And you pause at the top of the inhale. Maximal inhale breath. And you scan your mind. And just remind yourself that you're one with your source. Source loves you as you love your source. And so none of this, whatever nonsense that is in the mind, really needs to bother you. The truth is still true. And you just blow it all out. Sense of releasing whatever those thoughts, dark thoughts and emotions are. Rest here, this peace and stillness, bottom of the exhale. Anchor the state in, just breathe. And now you're going to take a nice deep breath in. The vessel's been emptied, and you're going to allow the Holy Spirit, remembrance of perfect love, to bring in another interpretation of these words. Allow them to come into your mind. To your heart. And feel into these words as you speak them. So part of the power of this is an affirmation. So breathing in, full maximal inhale breath. Okay. So breathe in power. Cannot oppose, and any opposition weakens it. Breathing in again. Breathe in this power to every pore, every cell, every muscle, every part of your mind, every the concepts like weakened power or hateful love are contradictory and unintelligible. Exhale as you repeat those words aloud. Breathing in again. I perceive my companions through a lens of contradiction. Making them stand for meanings that are inherently meaningless. These flawed perceptions, which are rooted in my belief in separation, leave me perceiving an image that has no real foundation. Breathing in again, empty spaces in my understanding. When left vacant, call on truth to fill them. Breathing in again, no deliberate preparation. No deliberate preparation can make this invitation more genuine. Pure formless awareness of perfect love fills these spaces where truth dwells. Feel it filling up this space in your own mind now. Unopposed power is the essence of being. Which transcends symbolic representation. Breathing in again. Or symbols like pictures. Can aid in temporary understanding. They ultimately have a limited role. Because they are only temporary, and what is temporary remembrance of perfect love facilitates a temporary exchange of these symbols. Until I reach a state where they are no longer needed. When I reach the state they're no longer needed, I merely rest in the truth. And my perception of my companions, inspired by perception of my companions, inspired by the memories of perfect love, despite being incomplete, is consistent within itself. Incompleteness does not negate presence of perfect love. Incompleteness does not negate presence of perfect love. And so ultimately, I will come to realize that this presence places every learning aid merely is. And so just sink into the presence lies beyond all perception. You may have misperceived your companion, to contradictory beliefs, leaving gaps in my understanding. And these gaps remain open. Truth fills them. By choosing to let go and move beyond limited perceptions to experience limitless power and profound peace. And move beyond my limited perceptions or reality to experience limitless power and profound peace. And I realize the ever-present nature of pure formless awareness, experientially. And rest in my eternal being. And nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about, no practice, no technique, no letting go, just be what you are right now. Remain in that being. So just sink inwards to the pure being that you are. Just allow yourself to experience that. Rest and quiet in the truth of the statement, I am, that I am, or God is. And then we cease to speak. There's nothing else to say. And just sink inwards very deeper, each passing moment and breath into This transcendent reality section points to the peace of God, it's been called, that surpasses all understanding. Just coming back into an awareness of body, breath, and senses, and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Smile. Scan your mind. Notice thoughts, emotions, related body sensations going on. If anything that feels negative in any way, limiting, contracted, or constricted, you breathe into it and remind yourself that God or love is my source, perfect love is my source, and its extension loves it, and it loves its extension. It's the one. No one in your perception and in your ultimate reality. So just onto 2, exhale, blowing everything else away, sinking in to this deep peace, stillness. Anchor that peace in, stay rooted in this peace. The rest of the evening on into tomorrow. So it is said and so it is done. Now on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just look around, observe. Whatever's going on in the room in this very calm, peaceful way. No judgment, there's just peace. Recognize the peace, realize this peace is all there really is. It's true reality. So just anchor the state in. Open your eyes. Look around. Observe this deep peace, this underlying reality. Underlies all of your sense perceptions. Where you're seeing images, images are infused with peace. And so the images don't contradict themselves, they point to a deeper truth, underlying truth of pure formless awareness and perfect love, which merely is. You can perceive that. It's very peaceful, it's very restful. Notice that you look at anything, look at any object for a few seconds, you close your eyes. Notice that peace is still there. When your eyes are closed or open them again, look at something else. You notice the same peace, irrespective of what you're looking at. So you're training your mind to ignore the change in perceptions. To stay rooted in the peace. Peace of God, it's been called, surpasses all understanding. So I hope that you've experienced a touch of that in this meditation and in the session. It brings us to the end of the meditation and the session. So thank you to Elaine for joining. Thank you if you listened on the live stream. If you'd like to join us in these sessions, check below. I'll put a link to register for Masterclass, one of these live sessions, which is an open session happening this coming Sunday. You can also sign up to receive some of the information I shared at the beginning of this session. Send that out daily on Telegram, and if you like the channel, please subscribe to get more of the same. So thank you for joining again, Elaine. Thank you for listening and watching if you watched home, and I hope to catch you on the inside soon. Namaste, which means the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. Honors that same peace that surpasses all understanding in you.